Still down one.
Still down one. What's with everybody showing up so late? I don't understand.
It's okay. I've got a rubber ducky in the pool. We got a minion.
We got. He counts. He counts. Huh? Is it a he or a she?
Your Rabbi Ducky holding a chumash, have tzitzis, a bris milah?
I didn't ask. Let me go ask.
Probably
Give it a grip.
they're androgynous.
Oh, there we go. There's the minion. Reb Mazel Tov.
So the baby's name is Shmuel Chaim, after the Shvez's father, and my Zayd Shmuel Yeager.
Mazel tov, mazel tov.
Thank you.
The baby should follow in the namesake's footsteps.
Amen.
Amen.
Reb
Oh,
Zev,
man.
were you driving like 9:30 with your shver today in the morning?
Yes, I drove him to the bris he landed this morning, and I drove him to the bris over there.
I was sitting there. I said, "No, I must have the wrong day because it's 9 o'clock in the morning. What are they still doing?"
Yeah, no, Baruch Hashem, yeah.
There was a cousin bris, right?
What? It was my
cousin
my mechutin made a bris for another anicle in the morning. And his was at 12:30. Today was 12:30 in my daughter's house.
Oh, it was in the house.
You see? It's gewaldig.
It is Gaval. You've saved a bundle, Mr.
I don't think this is still a food, whatever. But yeah, it was nice. Yeah, I'm saying the halls are pretty cheap in Lakewood. $400.
Yeah, but more people show up if you make it in the hall.
Yeah, it was 50 people, 60 people. It was very nice. It was Ben Esdarm that came afterwards for the second shift.
Second dance.
The second dance, yeah. And it was he got Sunday coins. You got to get a bracha for him.
It's already a different day now.
For him? Yeah, okay.
For us. Okay, so let's go. Yeah, we're starting the last two words. A very interesting daf tonight. A very interesting daf. Soma Rav. That was yesterday's daf. Today's daf. Today's daf for us.
Where are you starting since we're not on the regular schedule? So nun test, nun chesam and base.
Nun test. Well, we just read nun chesam and base, which said Omar Rav. Now we're on to nun test.
Okay.
Yeah. He said, so Rav said, meaning yesterday we finished off with the story about this guy who was they paid taxes all together, and this fellow came and he what was his name again? Guido Bari. It was a machlokes had a paskin. Okay, whatever it was. So then Rav said, I was in that minion to be Rebbe. I was in Rebbe's minion. Right? And meaning not in his minion for davening. Right? But the minion that decided that whoever comes and takes the field is Zaycha in it. Manu Beresha. From me, Manu Beresha. From me, they counted from me first. Meaning I was the first vote when they started deciding what was the psak gonna be. So they started from Rav. Right? Oh, so I'm going to ask court cases of finances, tyrus, tumas, maschilim, and agadol. The first vote goes from the gadol, from the biggest person in the bezdin. B'dinin nefashos, maschilim, and atzad. And dinin nefashos, we start from the side, meaning because back then they had they do it sort of now, right? Oh, I don't know. Some courts have it like in a circle, right? Since they have it in a circle, so they start from the side. They didn't want to start not from the top and not from the bottom. Right now, how come they started from Rav? If this is a money thing, this is a financial situation. So why they started from Rav? Rebbe was obviously the biggest one. He should have had the first vote. So Rav Breder Rav, Rav Hillel Breder Rav Balas, Shani Minyana the Bei Rav, the Kulu Minyonayu Minatzad Maskilim. By Bei Rebbe, they always started from the side. All right. Meaning Rashi says Rebbe had a different pshat in what it means, loisana al riv, right? It says loisana al riv, which is don't answer to a riv, means to a fight. Right. So the question is how you understand loisana al riv and how to understand the pshat. How do you explain the pasuk? So meaning you shouldn't, loisana al riv means you shouldn't start with the top. You should start from the middle. There shouldn't be anybody there to influence you or to convince you, etc., from doing anything.
We just learned about Hachna. You know, there shouldn't be the God. It should be the guy who has the. We just learned about Hachna. No.
Right. Oh, so very good. So then the Tosfos says that the reason why they didn't start from the top is because of Anova. So Shaloi laharis atzmai gadol hayaseh. That he shouldn't show himself like he said he's a gadol. Yeah. Fine. So okay, so Rebbe's Bezdin had a different way of learning Pshat, but everybody else, for Dinei Nefashos, they started from the middle, and Dinei Mamonis, they started from the top. Fine. This is the same mandam as before. That's why the Gemara is saying this. From the days of Moshe until Rebbe, we did not find that a leader of Klal Yisrael had Torah and Gedula in the same thing. Now, Torah means he obviously was the biggest Talmid Chacham, and Gedula means he also was the greatest, meaning he was both in the Beis Medrash and out of the Beis Medrash, the undisputed Gadol in both. Meaning normally you have the guy that's the big Talmid Chacham, not the guy, but the Gadol. He's the Gadol in Torah. And then you have the Gadol who's in the power, let's say the rich guy or the king or this or whatever it is, right? So Moshe Rabbeinu was the biggest in both, and Rebbe HaKadosh was. And between them, there was nobody. Nobody ever reached that madrega. So when it says V'loi, Ahava Yeshua, when it says you had Yeshua. Yeshua was the leader in both. And when it says Hava Elazar. When Yeshua was alive, Elazar also was alive. So therefore, he wasn't the only one alive. Right? Meaning by Moshe Rabbeinu was only Moshe, and by Rebbe was only Rebbe, there was nobody else. Have Elazar, right? But you had Elazar, meaning after Yeshua died, Elazar was. So it says have a Pinchas, there was Pinchas. But have a Pinchas, it must say okay, but there was Pinchas. Have a Zakanim, then there was Zakanim. So have a Shaul, but then there was Shaul. Have a Shmuel. Shmuel was alive by Shaul. But Noch Nafshe, but we said, but Shaul died, right? So the Gemara says, Kulu Shani Kamrinan. We're talking about a case where it meant that in all their years, from when they were I don't know if it means appointed, but from whenever it is that they were considered great, until they died, they were great from the beginning. Now I don't know at what point were they considered great. I don't know. They voted in. I'm not sure what that means. All right, but basically what the Gemara is saying is that from when they were appointed, they were considered Gadol Ador, Sayin Torah, Sayin everything. So the Gemara says, "V'ha'ava David," but there was David who had both greatness. So the Gemara says, "Hava Ira HaYeiri." There was Ira the Yeiri, right? He was a Gadol B'Torah also. Yeah, fine. But then he died, and David was alive. So the Gemara says again, Kulu Shani. You need somebody who was the best for all his years, and David was not, because Ira Yiri was alive. Okay, then it says I have a Shlomo, right? Shlomo was the king, and he was considered a big Talmid Chacham. So Gemara answers have a Shimi ben Gera. There was Shimi ben Gera who was also a big Talmid Chacham, but Shlomo killed. He didn't kill him himself, but he was Machayev and Misa. So the Gemara says, Kula Shani, meaning, and then Mameli wasn't alive and was Shlomo by himself. So we said again, Kula Shani, we're saying that all his years, he was considered the top. Then the Gemara says, I have a Chizkiah, you had Chizkiah. So the Gemara answers, I have a Shavna. There was Shavna, or Shevna, right? Who was equal. This was a Ha'ikdil. but Shevna died. Well, it says, well, he was killed. Kulu Shani Kamrina. And again, the same thing, that he was all his years, meaning Chizkiah had to have been the top for all his years, and he was not. Ezra, we have Ezra. So he said, Nehemiah ben Chaklaya. We had Nehemiah, who was alive during Ezra's times. Right? Fine. So that's that shot of the tie. So now basically we're back to that Moshe was the Gadol and Rebbe. No more kashas. Yeah.
Or was the no more kashas directed at me?
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
But if yes, Beretz, yeah.
Well, what's the point of this Gemara? Just to say that it is possible to have Torah Gedula, just not uniquely.
It's possible that exactly. Yeah, you could have people with Torah and Gedula.
Right. Is that the point of this Gemara? It stresses it again and again, just to say, when we say someone has Torah Gedula today, the Malkim Echad, it is Shaykh. It's just, he's not the only one who has Torah or Gedula.
Correct.
That's the point.
That's
that we shouldn't say. We shouldn't say if you hear someone say, "Oh, he has Torah Gedula Malkim Echad," he can't, because there's no such thing.
No, there is such a thing. Why? We could say
that's the point of this Gemara. Without this Gemara, I would have said you can't say such a thing, because it says Moshe and Rabbi were the only ones. And Rav Ashi.
Yeah.
Today,
well,
there's no such thing.
Nowadays, this term gets thrown around a lot. Torah Gedula.
And that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Okay,
Rashi said Gedula means Aish.
Yeah, that's. Well, usually in order to
Gedula doesn't mean that you're a leader, or you have the authority. Authority means not stam authority. It means you're wealthy to have that authority.
Exactly, and usually in order to have authority, you need to be wealthy.
Right. That's just like Kohanim Gedula.
And Torah means you're the Gadol Adar, correct?
Seems like it. Yeah. Right. Yeah, like Naftali Larner yesterday told me he met a guy who was Torah Gedula. Right. At least he thought he was Torah Gedula until I got finished with talking to Naftali about the guy. But yeah, I don't know if that was a positive conversation or not. But
Every conversation with you is positive.
there you go.
It's positive for you, Naftali.
In this
No,
song,
he's officially a major Torah. He's probably from the top Torah Gedula people, and Naftali had a lot of kashas on him. So I explained to him that the Gedula, or maybe the Torah part, is a little bit misleading. That's all.
in the song, if I were a rich man, it ends up with, when you're rich, they think you really know. It's an interesting thing. It's Gedula. You're rich? Oh, yeah, everybody.
It's exactly right, Rahman. That's exactly what it is, right? Yeah. Okay.
He had more Torah and all aspects. He's bigger than me. That I can say.
I don't know why you say that, but okay, whatever. Shine. I guess the conversation didn't have any success. Okay,
it did. No,
all
it
the
did.
way around.
No, it did. But he's 100% smarter than me.
Okay. Omer Rav Acha Breder Rava, Afani Omer, V'yemais Rebbe ad va'ad Rav Ashi. He says, from the days of Rebbe till Rav Ashi, Loi Matzinu Torah Gedula Makam Echad. Right. Okay. So then, V'loi V'hava Huna Bar Nasan. There was Huna Bar Nasan. Right. So Shani Huna Bar Nasan, the Mechavu Kayef the Rav Ashi. Huna Bar Nasan doesn't count because he bent himself over. That's a literal translation to Rav Ashi. Right. So meaning he was, even though we may look at Huna Bar Nasan that he was a gadol in his own right, but since he humbled himself to Rav Ashi, so then it's too much. It's not too much. It's, what do you call it? He doesn't have enough. Meaning from our perspective, he talk at Torah Gedula. But when you put it into perspective, him or Rav Ashi, since he was machni himself to Rav Ashi, then mainly he doesn't count. Okay, I can't say I understand that exactly.
Line. Rav is really 2 generations before Rav Ashi, and I would imagine Gadol from Rav Ashi, much greater, essentially.
Yeah.
And he's saying about Rav Ashi, Torah Gdul b'Makim Echad.
Correct. Right.
That means it doesn't mean the Gadol Hadoir, a Gadol Hadoir.
Right. Right. It doesn't mean the.
Rav Ashi was probably 40 years younger than him.
I don't know what the age. I don't know the age.
Dovi, am I off by a mile?
I don't know. Did he have? You muted? Is he trying to talk?
You're
Though?
muted. Dovi, you're muted.
He said the Rav is 2 generations above Rav Ashi. And Rav Papa was in the middle.
Right. So Rav is saying about Rav Ashi in Torah Gdul b'Makim Echad. He was the only one before Rabbi. And 2 generations later, that means Rav, who was the Gadol Hadoir at the time, is saying about Rav Ashi that he had Torah Gdul.
Right.
That means Torah doesn't mean the Gadol Hadoir. It means a Gadol.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Of the age. Okay.
Yeah. That's okay. Fine. Talk to Mishnah. Cheresh, Roimes, Venirmas. Somebody who's deaf now has to be deaf mute. Because if he wasn't deaf mute, then he could talk. So he's Roimes, Venirmas, meaning if a Cheresh starts making ramazim, signaling, then we could trust that. Like if he points to something, it says, he points to it, and you make like a signal to him, like, should I pick this up and buy it? And he gives it with a signal on his head, then you could trust that. And Nirmaz also, he can be the recipient of signals. Ben Beseira says kaifetz v'nikvatz. He could even use it from his mouth, and you can mouth things to him, and that also works. And if basically he shakes his head or whatever, then it's fine. So meaning there's 2 ways to get instructions or give instructions to a deaf mute. Either he makes with signs with all his things, or you give signs to him. But it only works for metaltalin. It only works for, things that can move, but it doesn't work for land.
So Cheresh is allowed to be an aid if he shows with his hand.
No, l'chayr is pasul edus. It's pasul
So
edus. We're talking about for his
is-
own sake. Meaning, a cheresh comes into the grocery store. He wants to buy a soda. How are we supposed to know whether he wants it or not, or whether we're selling it to him or whatever it is? So, based on signals or communication, right? Then this is a takana.
Oh, is it?
Sign language would be something would make a big nafkamina in this person's life, basically.
Yeah, correct. Exactly. It's a sign language. It's sign language. It's some form of sign language.
Wait, is this sign language, or this is only because it's so rudimentary that it doesn't really work?
It
Sign
sounds
language is language. That might work as a complete.
I don't know. Maybe sign language is stronger than this. L'chari, you're right. This is less than sign language. I don't know what the din would be by sign language. I don't know.
So how we differentiating?
This is
If he
just
gives-
like, you go like, basically the way I understood this is the way a man talks to his friend during Birchas Kriya Shema, Psuka Dezirah. Yeah, stuff that, right? That's what we're talking about. Like, the language that women don't understand, because women don't do that during davening, right? You try to go to Nunu, women have no idea what you're talking about because they don't do that stuff. When they daven, they daven. Us guys are busy signaling and this and that. We got a whole language, right? We got a whole language going. That's what I'm assuming is what this Gemara is talking about, right? So anyway, so we're saying that would work. That's the first part of the mission.
So the Cheresh is allowed to be an aid if he shows that he knows what he's talking about.
I don't think so. Are you sure?
I think there are those today that say that the Cheresh is not a Cheresh today.
That's a different story. That's a different story.
I'm
No,
not
even
talking- I'm talking
without cochlear implants because of
I'm
sign
talking-
language.
I'm talking about in those days. Now, how we saying there's enough community between a Cheresh that's Roimes that is not Roimes? I'm saying the Torah says a Cheresh is no good.
We're not talking about Eidos. He's buying something.
Right?
How does he live? After his parents stop feeding him, how's he supposed to live? He dies on the streets? So you can walk into a store and say, I want this one, but he can't speak. So he can lift it up and shake it around, figure out
says
how to
it's-
buy something.
Who says
Or
it's only
sell.
by? Who says it's only by buying?
That's what we just
It's
said.
buying and selling.
Metaltalin.
Both. Both.
I said and sell. Yeah.
So he's allowed to sell a building. He's allowed to sell.
No, not karka,
No,
metaltalin.
no karka, just metaltalin.
Well, it's Yaakov. The first case is not talking about the first outside Ben Beseira. Raimez and Nirmaz is not talking about karka. I know
What?
the case of Koifetz is talking about only metaltalin.
Right.
Raimez and Nirmaz is not saying you could do that. You can't do Raimez and Nirmaz with Gabi karka.
Well, we'll see. Well, let's see in the Gemara, but it doesn't sound like that.
So then, why did the Mishnah only say the Gabi Koifetz and Niklas metaltalin?
Right. In the Mishnah.
No, I think both
No,
of these.
No, it
Putting the
doesn't say.
comma in the wrong place. The Tanakhama says Rem is Vinirnas. The Seira adds Kaifetz Niklas. When? The metaltalin.
I'm not so sure. I don't know now.
That's not how Rashi's mashma.
I hear. You know what? I didn't even think about it till you're mentioning it. Now I hear what you're saying. I understood it like Gershon, but now I hear what you're saying. Right? That meaning metaltalin is only going on the kaifetz part. I don't know. I hear. Let's see the Gemara because the Gemara is going to go through it a little bit. I don't think it's going to answer the question, but let's see. Pa'utais is young kids. We'll see the age in the Gemara. Mekhan mekach or memkaran memkar. If a kid buys something, it's considered a purchase, and if he sells something, it's considered a sale. And again, b'metaltalin, that's only by metaltalin. All right, so let's see the Gemara. Someone of machlokes b'metaltalin. This machlokes over Raimes v'nirmas and koifetz v'nikvatz is only by metaltalin. Our begittin divrei akol remiza, but for gittin, then everybody holds that you can work remiza, right?
Wait, that's mashma. The metaltalin is going on both of them.
Correct. Well, it is.
They're arguing in metaltalin whether kvitza works. That's the machlokes.
Yes. Well, I could hear both ways in it, but yeah, you definitely have a valid point. Let's see the rest of it. So again, we're saying that Ben Beseira holds that even mouthing it works. That's only for metaltalin, but it doesn't work for a get. For a get, everybody holds it has to be remiza. So it says pshita by metaltalin time. Ben Beseira only says it by metaltalin. See, that's why Gershon, not necessarily. I mean, Ben Beseira only says it by metaltalin, right? So of course he doesn't say it by gittin.
Only. That's the Kamash Milan.
Yeah. So what's that? The Gemara is asking, what are you saying in Chiddush? That it's only metaltalin, right? Meaning, Raimes v'nirmas is not necessarily metaltalin. That's all. Whatever. I don't want to be confusing for the but anyways, so pshita metaltalin tonight. It says it's pasha b'metaltalin. So the Gemara answers, "Ma'od the same af b'metaltalin." You would think that even metaltalin, it would work to mouth it. To mouth directions to each other would work even with metaltalin kamash malon. That teaches us that it does not. Yigadami, the opposite. Amar Nachman kemachlokes b'metaltalin, kach machlokes b'gittin. The same way they have a machlokes by metaltalin, so too they have a machlokes by gittin. Non metaltalin tonight, but the Mishnah says only by metaltalin does he say you can mouth it, not by gittin. Ema af b'metaltalin. So let's say even with metaltalin. Okay, so there's two versions of whether that applies to that or not. Fine.
Why does it work by Gittin at all?
Why what?
Why does it work by Gittin at all? Is this Takanas Agunas? It can be Roibas to write a get.
Oh, Raimes was saying, I mean, why does it dafka work?
The Kuli Alma, it works by Gittin.
it's
Remiza
Takanas,
works by Gittin.
But mouthing does not work by gittin, according to the first shot.
According to the first, according to the Kuli Alma, Remiza works by Gittin.
Yes. Well,
Why?
Yes.
That's not how Rashi learns it.
Huh?
Rashi does not learn it like that at all. Rashi holds the Kamash Milan is that according to Ben Beseira, Remiza, nothing works by getting.
Well, it depends which Kamash Malon you're
I'm
going.
saying the first shita, nothing works according to Ben Visera. Ben Visera holds that only the Gabe Metalton do even let anything work.
Talton Rav Nachman. Why? Talton Dafka Naka Ben Visera V'Loibe Gittin Ubekarkoyas.
Loiber Misa, Loiber Kvisa, nothing will work.
No, by
No,
Gittin
that's all-
Remiza works.
Only
Like
for-
Karka, nothing
I'm
works.
just repeating Rashi.
No, but there's a comma before the karka, I think.
Yeah,
Loiber begin
100%. No. Kamashmal and Rav Nachman, Metaltal and Dafka Naka Ben Visera V'Loibe Gittin. Period. The Karkois, Loiber Remiza, V'Loibe Kvitza. The Hachlu Mishum the Kedei Chayav talking Rabbanan, right?
Okay, the truth is,
by
I
Gittin,
hear what's bothering Akiva because why is
What's the
Rashi
difference
saying
between
that?
Gittin
It's
and Karkois?
Pasha. I'm saying it's Pasha. Why does Rashi have to say that? Pasha, it doesn't work for karka.
no, Rashi's trying to say that Gittin is less chomer than Metaltal, not more chomer than Metaltal.
I hear. Okay, all right, let's go. It's getting late. Okay, who does mekhan mekha umemkar memkar b'metaltal? Right, we said kids, their mekach works for ad kama. What age? So Machli Rav Yehuda Rav Yitzchak Brei, he showed him, right? You got to love that, right? Machli. We just got finished saying that we're talking in like sign language or whatever, and here it says Machli Rav Yehuda. He showed him, meaning how did he show him? L'chayra, by holding up his fingers. What age, right? Can't make it up, right? It's Givaldi, right? That's meaning after the previous Gemara, it's talking about showing things with the fingers. So here it says that. So Machli the Rizah break kvar shis kvar shev, 6 or 7 years old. Rav Kahana Omer kvar shev kvar timni, 7 or 8. Masisatona kvar teisha kvar eser, 9 or 10. Now, what does it mean that these? What's with the different ages? So, what it's girls and boys. Girls is always 1 year younger than the boy. Right, that's what it means. 6, 7 is 6 for a girl, 7 for a boy, because we know that our maturity level, at least temporarily, is less than is older, right? Older than the girls. Now this happens to be a big 3 weeks, 9 days. It almost sounds like you're reading a kuntris on the 9 days. Till what age can a kid listen to music? 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, 9. Right? Till what age can they bathe and eat meat and all that? So you got all the placements, 6, 7, 7, 8, whatever. So it almost sounds like that's what we're doing here. Veloy pligi. And they're not even arguing. Kol chad v'chad lefi chorfei. Each one, you have to do each kid according literally to his sharpness. Which I can't, I mean, whenever the Gemara says this teretz, not like I understand the Gemara's teretzim ever, but this one I certainly don't understand. Each one according to their sharpness. So why are you giving an age then? Just say according to the kid's understanding. I say I understand what this means. Each one says their age: 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, 9. Fine, and then we say there's no machlokes. Each one's talking about depending on how smart the kids are. Okay, very nice. So
it's lav dafka. It's telling you be'erich the age.
Then why are you giving the age?
Because
right?
What do you mean? If a kid's 3 and is a genius.
So then just say it depends on how smart the kid is. First of all, here for this, I'm not so sure genius works. I think street smarts would look a lot better. I think that our school system, right? The kid that sits in the chair studying all day, I don't want to trust him with the mechira. No way, man. This guy can get ripped off silly. I want the guy that's half the time thrown out of the class. That's the guy I want to judge the age by, not the guy sitting in the chair. Right? I wouldn't trust those guys worth a dime. Selling the Brooklyn Bridge.
Better
I
stop.
understand, but don't we have this all the time? Something's awesome when the kid is chinuch age, and then you ask what age, and you say it depends on the kid. 6, 7, 8, 9.
Exactly. 30.
So it's not a 3-year-old, right?
I believe
right.
chinuch age. But chinuch age nowadays is 30.
Right, but it's not a 3-year-old and a 30-year-old. That's what it is. It's 6, 7, 8. You know, there's a range, and then
so that's why don't they say a range? Why don't they say that? So could it be that Rav Kahana, the kids were smarter in his place? Rav Yitzchak, it was age 6, 7. I have to just say something. Okay? No
Rav Kahana went to Siach, and the other one went to Darcha.
No, I wasn't going to say. I'm going to say worse. I'm going to say worse, but no comments, please, because in the 3 weeks, it can't. Why am I making the comment? Because I don't know. I see this all the time when I have this conversation with parents. The kids in Lakewood are far ahead of the kids in Far Rockaway 5 towns in the sharpness, in their learning, in their I'm telling you, it's not even close. What should I tell you? It's not even close. I would trust a kid in Lakewood with a sale and this and that way faster than a 5 towns kid. What should I tell you? This is what I see. Right? So maybe that's what it means. Depending on the town. Lakewood, I would say it's 6, 7. In 5 towns, it might be more like 8, 9. They're just sharper. They're on their toes a lot more. I mean,
I think it's a shtickle meduyik that way in the Gemara, from who it was. Yehuda ber Yitzchak, Yehuda to Yitzchak, his son, was going down a doyer. Rav Kana was a kohen, so his kohen are sharper than the average. And Masni Satana jumps a 2-year gap.
no, but that's
from
worse.
the Tanaim.
But that's worse. The sharper is the younger. No?
Yeah, he's saying that the what's it called? I'm saying as you read the Sadaris, the street, because the intelligence gets weaker, the street smarts go up.
Okay, maybe. I don't know. Ich weiß nicht. Whatever it is, I just don't understand this Gemara. Just say, depending on the kid's sharpness, and each kid is different. Why you got to give age? I don't know. Okay. The time of my, right? And what's the time of my, and what's the reason? Meaning, why did the Chachamim make this gezerah or takana that kids could sell things and buy things? Because the kid needs to live, right? Meaning, nobody's going to want to do business with the kid if we could just say, oh, you just sold the kid a soda. The kid had no right to buy the soda, give it back. Now it's a whole mess, right? So therefore, the Chachamim said it works, right? It works in order that people should be willing to sell to kids, right? So you have that whole sugya where, in grocery stores where they put the sweet cereals by the kid level, right? You ever heard this? Right? The junky cereals, the healthy ones go on the top shelves where the parents see it. The ones that were the kids, like the 2-3 feet up, that's where all the sweet cereals go like this. The kids take it off the shelves and they convince the people to buy it for them, right? So, you do see that there is some form of, how do you say it? I don't know what it's called. They're trying to convince.
Marketing?
Marketing, yeah. I don't know, it's marketing, whatever it is. Scams, yeah. Yeah. Right.
Didn't we have a Gemara with someone wanting to get out of something and he gave it to his kid and the Chum made it a good thing and then they were able to get it back? Last week.
A what?
Where a guy gave something to his kid so he couldn't lose it, and then the Rabbanim did something with that Yerusha, or not, it wasn't Yerusha. With the Kenyan, we just had something. We just had something a week ago.
I argued with everyone else about this. Yeah,
we had it a week and a half ago.
I don't know.
No, it was more than that. It was like 3 weeks ago.
Really?
Hasn't set up an
remember
apotropos.
It can't be.
There was a machlaikas about apotropos, if it was only for Yisayimim, or I argued with Aaron about this. Aaron said,
that's not a riot. That's every night.
No, Zevin and Aaron agreed with each other against me. The Bezdin only set up an apotropos for Yisayimim. I'm like, no, if the father harms the kids, the Bezdin set up an apotropos to take away from the father.
Okay, I don't know.
Something where someone gave something to his kid to get out of something. And the Rabbanim and the Rabbanim did something because of the Kenyan or something, and the guy tried to get out of it, and they were able to. The Rabbanim,
it was Maestros or something like that. He had a field. He wanted to get out of Maestros, so his kids would have been potter or something like that. So he gave it to his kids to be potter. Then he wanted to use it, but it's not his; it's his kids. It doesn't took him out of it.
That case.
Yeah.
That was. He gave it over to his kid. He gave the Eved over to his kid. That's what you're talking about.
Right.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay,
right.
Yeah. Right. Very good. Fine. Now, because of that, the Gemara brings another thing from Rav Bar Yaakov. Shem Rabbi Yochanan. Vayomer la'asher al milah. Vayomer, this is a pasuk in Melachim. Vayomer la'asher al mel tocha Right? And he told the person that was on the clothing that he should take out this lavush for anybody, this clothing for anybody who was the Ovid the Baal, who did Avodah Zarah to the Baal. My miltacha. What is miltacha? Amar Rav Avar, Yaakov Rav Yaakov Davar hanimlav nimtach. It's something that gets, you move it like this, like you rub it between your fingers, and you pull it, right? Which Rashi says is pishtan. What do you call it? Linen. Shigarloi Bunyam ben Yunyam the Rebbe. Bunyam ben Yunyam, who Rashi says was a wealthy person, sent to Rebbe Sivni v'chayma salsala u'malmula. He sent these 4 types of clothing, right? Sivni v'chamsi ka'amguza upalgi d'amguza. They were the Sivni and the chaymas were so, not chamsi, chaymas, were so thin. The clothing was so fine and so thin that you could fold it up like a travel, like you have those travel hats. You could fold it up into nothing, or a travel jacket. So this thing was so fine, you could fold it up into the size of a nut, or a half a nut. Salsalo malmala kipistika upalgi the pistika. Those things you could fold into the size of a gallnut, which I think is otherwise right. A gallnut, Rashi says that chazirimo. Oh, okay. My milmala. What is milmala? Dabra nimla v'nimtach. It's something that you roll it and you stretch it. Okay, fine. That's just brought parenthetically. Okay, so now if a kid could do business, so what about his mistake? Let's say the kid overcharges or undercharges. So how much money can he overcharge and undercharge where we say that it's batal? Meaning we know that something called aynah, where somebody rips somebody else off, so by more than a sixth, then you can nullify the whole sale. So how about a kid? Ad kama, samarav yaina, amarav zera ad shtus gadol, the same thing as a gadol, a sixth, up until a sixth. If the kid charges more than a sixth or underpays by more than a sixth, then the whole thing is batal. Baya.
That's the Mishnah. What makes it? Why was it not committed and a kid and an adult?
No, because you would think a kid maybe you give more room to mess up, or less room, more room, less room. Meaning you would think it would be different, right? Yeah. So bayamai matanasai mai. What about a matana? Can a cotton give him matana? Yeme or mar ain matanasai matana. And mar baravashi yama matanasai matana. It is a matana. Afhua. So the Gemara says they mixed up who said what. The Shadrula Kamedra Mordechai, and they said to Mordechai, Amr le zilu amru levar mar. Go and tell Mar, who was the son of Bar Mar, the son of Mar, who was Mar bar Rav Ashi. It wasn't this what happened. Ki havakoi Mar chad karei ha'arav chad karei ha'darga. When Mar, meaning Rav Ashi, was standing 1 foot on the floor and 1 foot on a step. And we asked him, what's the story? Can a kid give a gift? It is a matana. Right? Achas matana shimirav, achas matana bari. It's a matana whether the kid is dying and he gives it away, or he was healthy and he gives it away. A kid's matana is a matana. Achas matanas merubav, achas matanas meruchas. Doesn't make a difference whether it's a large present, a small present. When a kid gives something away, that's considered a matana. So I meant to look into this and then I forgot. So what's the whole story with the lulav and esrog on the first day, where it has to be lachem? So why don't we give it to a katan?
He's not going to be knocking it back properly.
I thought because he can't be knocking it back.
He can't.
No, he can. We just don't know
Here
if he will.
Here the Gemara says that he can.
According to Ramat Chen Ravash. According to Maryamar, he can't.
Yeah, but that's the way we paskin that it is. Matana says matana. So I meant to look into this. I totally forgot. So there's a chumrah that on the first day of Sukkot, when it has to be lachem, not this year, because this year it's Shabbos. On a normal year, it has to be lachem. The lulav and esrog has to be yours. So when somebody wants to borrow your lulav and esrog, they have to be kainet. So the problem is that if you give it to a katan before, let's say a man takes it in shul, then he gives it to a katan, Now there's no way to get it to be lachem, let's say for the wife when they get home, or for any ladies, or you want to give it away because the cotton doesn't have the koyach. Right? But why not? I just don't remember why not.
I never understood the whole thing anyway. If you shook already, there's no lachem. And the wife doesn't need lachem. She doesn't have the mitzvah.
If you want to be the kind of mitzvah properly.
She needs lachem for that. She has a lachem.
I would assume. Well, let's say it's somebody else. Anyways, okay. I'm not sure. I'll look into that. Zog the Mishnah Vayta. Now we go for the Kahanim amongst us, but we only have one Kayan on tonight. All right. Elu Dvarim Amru.
He's right here. How many Kahanim do we have?
Oh, we got two. Michael, you're on. Okay, I'm sorry. We got two. All right. Elu Dvarim Amru Bnei Darkei Shalom. These are the things that we say to keep the peace. Kayan Kaira Rishon. Kayan gets the first aliyah. V'achar of Levi, then comes the Levi, V'achar of Yisrael, and after that Yisrael. Why? Mipnei Darkei Shalom. In order to keep the peace. Right? What's a pshat to keep the peace? How's this keeping the peace? Right? So Rashi says it's keeping the peace. They made a takana. Right? And there's nothing to talk about. They decided on an order, and that's the order. Finished. No fighting.
The problem is now people fight about who shouldn't get revi. You know, that's what they're fighting
Right.
about.
So that's the big. You see. So Akiva.
It's not about getting shlishi. It's about not getting revi.
Right. So you see the Chachamim are right because they didn't make an order. They didn't make a set takana order for the other aliyahs, and you see how much fighting there is. Right. So we'll see that in the Gemara tomorrow's daf. But anyways,
If there's no Cohen, the Levi has no Kadima at all. I told
oh, so that's on Amud Beis, yeah.
the Chevra, we have a Chevra over here. They have one Levi. When I'm there, they have one Cohen. So I tell the Levi Chevra, I says, without me, you'd never get on Aliyah.
Now, what happens if you're davening at a shul where there's no kohen?
You never get anything.
There you go.
Now, what happens when you're
He
davening at a
could have
shul?
told you without the rabbanon, wouldn't get an aliyah
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happens if you're davening at a shul that doesn't hold by that, and they call you up and you're a Levi? Are you allowed to go up?
Yeah.
I've had that a few times.
Allowed to go up as what? As Rishon?
Just say it straight. When you would go to Sulitz, what do?
I don't go to shul.
Well, you're talking about a place that doesn't care because they don't know any better. That's what you're talking
Correct.
about.
Yeah.
Right, but in Sulitz, they don't call up Kohanim for Kohanim. They will call up Yisraelim for Kohen, even when there's Kohanim there.
But they wouldn't call Levi.
They would call Levi. I'm assuming if they call Yisrael, or maybe they wouldn't call Levi. I don't know.
Why do they do that? Is that that's the minhag? I heard that.
There is a shita based on
Doesn't
a
the Talmud
mashna.
Chacham sometimes go before a kohen or something?
No, it's basically what it's based on is that if it's a private besmerish, you can do whatever you want. And since Sulitz is a private besmerish,
See, after they
do whatever they
want.
donate to the shul, it's definitely not a private mismanaged anymore.
well, just because you're a sucker for donating, that doesn't mean you
Well,
have to.
you can't ask everyone to donate if you don't consider yourself a sister Rabbi. I'm sorry, that's a mechdesh.
All right, stop with
They
your.
clearly opened themselves up to everyone. Otherwise,
They
why is the
did.
Rabbi concerned? It's a riot that they didn't care.
No, you could ask for donations for your private besmerish. That's fine. Isn't that every place is like that? Right? Okay, whatever it is, that's what they hold in a private.
That's
besmerish.
fair.
But they're also because they want to share the. It's not because they have
Isn't
anything
that
against
isn't
Kohanim.
that a pagam on the Kohen's COVID? You allowed to do that?
It's most places can say no. Most places can say no.
The what?
That you have to give a kohen, and a Levi, and finish. No money.
Isn't there such a
You're
thing
not
of
allowed to
a
ask-
Talmud Chacham?
You're not allowed to ask a Kohen to do things for you. There's a lot of things a Kohen you can't.
Correct. Lamashal, now it's fast. It's the season of fasting, right? Let's say the only kohen in shul for mincha is not fasting, right? Now he's not supposed to get an aliyah on a fast day. So what do? So most places say you tell the kohen to leave. right? He should leave, or kick him out before. The best for him to leave before the Kriyas HaTorah, right? Okay, we'll see. This is all part of the sugya. But anyways, so they were Masakin Kohen Levi Yisrael. Ma'arvin bebeis bebeis yashin. The last line there. And there's such thing as an Erev. Now the Velt thinks that an Erev is sticks and strings, right? As Rachamim will tell you, there's more than sticks and Jan Avi. That we got a lot of, we're represented well with the Kehanim and the Erev people. But the main Erev is that everybody's got a share in food that stays in one person's house. That's the main. That's what we call Erev. Like in Farakah, it's in the Aguda. At least it used to be in the Aguda. It's in a set. That's a whole shiloh where it can even be in a shul. But it's supposed to be in one person's house, and everybody's supposed to own part of that challah or matzah. We use matzah because that means we're all considered like living in the same house, and therefore we could make an Erev. So the Gemara is saying, the Mishnah is saying, once one person, it's kept in one person's house, leave it there. Don't start messing around with it, right? Because then people will start fighting. On Tommy Bays, bar to Karav La'ama. If you have a bar, which is, so basically, an Amma is the stream where they filled up the virus, right? So you had to fill up each bar. So basically, the way you filled it up is you dammed up the stream, and it filled up the first bar. Then you would remove the dam, move it further down, and then let it fill up the other bar. So which one? How do you go first? Do you do the top bar closest to the water first, or do the bottom bar? So the Gemara Mishnah is saying that you do it closest. The bar closest gets filled up first. Because of dark shalom. Now, why should it be any more peaceful for the first one to get filled up as opposed to the last one? The reason for that is there is no real reason. Seems to be like it's just they have to pick one. So they picked one. The same reason why the Levi comes before Yisrael. See, a Kohen will see there's a reason why they gave him first, right? So not necessarily the other ones. Fine. Then the Gemara has a few of the similar cases. Let's say a guy sets out a trap to catch animals. Now there's no Kenyan there, right? He puts out a trap in the forest, and then the animal gets caught. And I walk along, and that's what one guy does. And I walk along, I see the animal trap. I say, "Hey, let me take this animal. Give out it." Right? Why not? Nobody was kind it yet. It's hefker. So they made a takana that you can't do it. Otherwise, people are going to be fighting about it. Rav Yossi says it's not because of dark yishalom. It's actual stealing. Now, how does that work? Right? Because the Chachamim said that they're gonna say that is as if he's kainit. So since as if he's kainit, and then you consider stealing. Stealing with the Rabbana, not stealing the rice, so that's for sure. What do you say?
Does that mean that lechatchila, according to the first one at least, I'm allowed to manipulate and touch someone else's property? You would have to touch the trap to get the animal out.
True. Yeah.
That means lechatchila I'm allowed to do that. It doesn't matter.
He has a zak that he left in a yard in a forest, and he doesn't own the property there. He just owns a piece of metal that he left there.
Who talks about the property? I'm talking about the piece of metal. Is his.
Right. So the property. So what is the metal is kinda for him the deer?
Forget the deer. I'm talking about the metal.
So
am I allowed to touch your trap?
He stole the trap.
That doesn't sound right.
The animal.
He's just saying you touched
it. Manipulated the trap in order to get the animal.
Basically, are you allowed to touch somebody else's property that's in public property? Right?
If I own a tow truck, I'm allowed to take my tow truck and tow your car a block away just because I want to.
I don't know if that's a deek or not.
Yeah, but Rashi's mechalik between something that has toich or not.
Well, because if it has toich, then your kli is kind of. Right? Rashi says if it has a kli, like let's say the guy put a big bowl and the deer fell into the bowl, so then the kli is kind of that's for sure. We're talking about where it's not a kli.
Right.
Okay, so that's
it happens to be. Tiago, it's funny he brings that up. In America, there's a whole fight over if police are allowed to mark your car, like when they're parking or not. Does that go against the amendments? And I think there are court cases where they say they're not allowed to. You're trespassing on somebody else's property.
Interesting.
By marking a car.
That's interesting. I hear. Very good. Okay, weiter. Betzia Schera Shaita V'Katan Yesh Mishum Gezel. The Betzia of a Schera Shaita V'Katan, which really should not work, is it's because it's Gezel Mipnei Darkei Shalom. Right? It's Gezel because of Darkei Shalom. But meaning it's not really Gezel. Yes, Gezel Gomer, no, it is Gezel Gomer. Oni Amenake Barosh Zai. So basically what they had was that the Aniyim used to come in to get Leket. Well, here it's not Leket, but Shikhapeya, right? So this guy, so they left the tree and he went up to the top of the tree and he knocked the olives down. Right? So now he's on the top of the tree. The Ani climbs to the top of the tree to get the top olives. He knocks it down, and then his buddy, the other Ani, says, "Oh, thank you for knocking down the olives," and he takes them and he goes home. Right? And I talk about that's can cause a fight. So an Ani that went up to the top, Mashatachas, Shatachtav Gezel. If anybody takes what he knocks off, then that's stealing Darkei Shalom because of Darkei Shalom. Rav Yossi Amar Gezel Gomer, that's real Gezel. And the last case is Ein Memacha B'Yad Aniyah V'Kachavim. We don't start off with Aniyah of Goyim, but Leket Chichapeh, right? Leket Chichapeh, the Leket is 1 or 2 pieces of grain that fell from the guy when he's gathering it. And Shikha is the grain that he forgets to cut down, or he cut it down but he forgot it there. And Pei is the corner of the field. If a guy comes there, we let him stay. Darkei Shalom. Even though they're right there for Yidden, but we allow him. Yeah. So Gemara said, fine. So those are the Mishnah. We'll go back to this in the Gemara. So now the Gemara brings 5 reasons why a Kohen goes first. You know what I mean? Amar Amasda, Amar Krova, Yichtav Moshe es HaTorah Azos, V'yitnei LeKehanim B'nei Levi. He gave it to the Kehanim who were the sons of Levi. Don't we know that the Kehanim were sons of Levi? Ella, Kohen, Bereisha, Bahada Levi. What it means is first goes the Kohen, then goes the Levi. That's what it's trying to teach us. And the Kohanim, the Levi came close, right? Fine. The sons of Aaron were Aaron and Moshe. And they separated Aaron that he should be Makdish Kodesh Kedoshim. So you see that Aaron had more Kedusha. And a Kohen is considered Kadosh for anything that's any Davar Sheva Kedusha. He gets to open first, right? Meaning he gets to go in first. And he gets to make the bracha first, meaning Hamaitzi and Berchas Hamazon, Velito Mana Yafim Rishon, and he also gets served first. All these things a Kohen gets, and the Chayra seems like it's a daraisa, right? Why the Velt nowadays is not makbid on this, I have no idea. But I don't know idea. The person discuss it, but it's not really clear. It seems like the Kohanim nowadays are just meichel this whole thing. So, but really there is an inyan to that the Kohen should go first for everything.
There's Rishonim, that say that today it doesn't apply because of the rest of the pasuk. Ki es lechem elekecha u'makrid. It only applies when lechem elekecha u'makrid.
Right.
When they're not bringing karbanos, there's no v'kidash.
Yeah, that's one shot. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, whatever it is, but there is an inyan to be mechaber Kohanim. Fine. So Amalei Abayla Rav Yosef Darkei Shalom deraisi. What are you saying? It's Darkei Shalom? It's a deraisa. The Mishnah says the reason why we give the Kohen the first aliyah is why? Because Darkei Shalom. What do you mean? It's not Darkei Shalom. It's a pasuk in the Torah. So Amalei, he said deraisa with Darkei Shalom. It's deraisa because of Darkei Shalom, which is very interesting because now the Gemara is basically saying that we had this last week that Reb Shimon holds that we always go through the Torah and we try and understand the rationale of the Torah. So that's what the Gemara seems to be saying here too. Our Mishnah is saying the rationale behind the Torah is that Kohanim, it's because of Darkei Shalom. So the Gemara asks, Kol Torah Kula Nami make Darkei Shalom. The whole Torah is peaceful. You got a song in the Daf. Yeah? That the ways of Hashem are sweet and everything is peaceful, meaning the Torah by definition is supposed to be peaceful. So what do you mean? You're explaining that the reason why Kohen goes first is to keep the peace. What do you mean? That's, of course, everything in the Torah is to keep the peace. Elam Rabbi. So Rabbi has a different shot. Look at the Mar, it goes like Mar, the Tanya, Shnayim Mamtinin Zelazeh B'Ka'ara. There's another one which people don't keep, right? Two people that are eating have to wait for each other when they're eating by a plate. Meaning, if two guys are sitting and eating, one stops eating, the other one also has to stop eating. That's when there are two people eating. Shloisha ein mamtinin. Three don't have to wait. Hapetzeya, the one who breaks the bread, who paishid yadei tchila. He sticks out his hand first, right? Meaning he gets the first right to the food. Vim ba'lachli covered the rabbi. And if he wants to give cover to his rebbe, he can. Or to somebody greater than him, or just the other, he could do that. Allah and Ramar said on that, that's only by Suda. It's a Knesset, but in Shul, no, the Asulan people are going to fight. So when the Mishnah says that you have to give the Kohen, the Levi, and the Yisrael, right? That's even if somebody in Shul, meaning at home, if you decide the Kohen wants to be mechabit somebody else, so then that's fine. But if it's in Shul, then you have no choice, and you have to give it to the Kohen, Levi, and Yisrael in order to keep the fights away. Which is exactly what we're talking about with Sulitz, right? This is meduyik like Sulitz. If it's in a private place, you're allowed to give out. You're allowed to be meichel, right? You can be meichel on it.
So is there, if I'm in my home and I decide to bench from a Zuman and there's a Kohen there, is there any point in saying Bershus Kohen?
I'm not so sure.
I never thought so either, but yeah.
I'm not even sure when somebody's benching in somebody else's house. And, right? You say Bershus the Balabayas. I'm not so sure you have to.
That's right? It. Bershus Balabayas. That is it.
Yeah. But then the next line is very interesting. Amar Ramasta Hoda Amar Pesach Knesses Loi. This that we said in the Shul now. Loi Amar El B'Shabbos Yom Tov. The Shrichi Ram. That's only in Shabbos and Yom Tov when a lot of people there are. But Sheni v'Chamishi Loi. But on Monday and Thursday, when there's not so many people in Shul, so then you can be mechabit somebody else. That's a fascinating thing. Taisus, the second Taisus down, says that was back then where people worked so hard and they didn't come to Shul during the week. But nowadays that we go to Shul Monday and Thursday, then you can't be Michael. You hear that?
And nowadays Dalam leaves by then, so I don't know if that's so passion.
Good, Akiva. You want to say that? That's all fine. But it seems like everybody pushes our door, how terrible we are. What do you mean? Our door is gewaldig. We go to Shul a whole week. Most people, or many people. And if a person doesn't go to Shul, okay, so he's like the Gemara's time. Can't be all that bad.
But with Yaakov in the Gemara's times, they were insanely poor. So the mamish were working all week for almost not like they had to work all week.
Okay, I'm saying to not have time to go to shul is pretty schwach. Right?
But it Taka was like that. You could see it. The Gemara discusses cases where people have to be makbid to not say Kriya Shema because the Gemara said you can't say Kriya Shema if your employer is losing money. So they were extremely makbid on that.
Yeah,
was it a timing issue or a logistics issue? They worked out in the field. You couldn't go to shul.
Could be, but you daven first and then you go. No.
No, I mean you got to be up when the chickens get up. You can't.
No, so you daven nets. Okay, I don't know. I'm not judging anybody. All I'm trying to say is that we're not so bad. That's what I'm saying. Anyway.
Well, Shabbos Taisa says maybe Yom Tov.
Why did she say Shabbos?
Yeah.
I don't know. Could be that has to do with
the Shabbos was even more. Shabbos everyone came.
When we start doing Taisa, it's a good question. Right now we're doing the Daf, but we're
trying. Hey, your brother started it.
Too bad.
10 o'clock.
This brother's finishing it.
It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? All right. Yeah. The clock strikes 10. That's it. Okay, so Gemara says, it's not true, but Avhuna Kari B'Kaish, the kahanish b'shavas yom tov. Rav Huna, what do you call it? He read in the place of Kahanim on Shabbos and Yom Tov. So Shani Rav Huna da filu Rebbe Ami Rav Asi Kahani Chashivi, the Eretz Yisrael, right? They were the most chashuv in Eretz Yisrael. Mechav Havakaifile, and they were what do you call it to them? They were bent over to them. Second time in today's daf we have this, right? So meaning they were so chashuv that they what do you call it? That they were able to get the first aliyahs, which we clearly don't do nowadays. Right? From this Gemara is mashma that you can give a big Talmud Chacham kohen, right? You can give him kohen. So I don't know. Do we have time to do another 7 lines, or should we stop here?
Eretz?
If Gershon promises to be quiet, I think we can do another 7 lines.
Okay, so let's go.
And Rachman mutes himself.
Okay, so okay, so now this is actually when there's very few times you learn a Gemara where mamish comes up a lot. When you have no kohen in shul or just a levi, do you give the kohen to kohen? Do you give it to a levi? I mean, you can't give it to a kohen. It says there's no kohen there. Then what do? You give it to a levi? Give it to Yisrael? So this is the Gemara right here. Amar Abaye Naktinon. Ain sham kohen. If there's no kohen there, mispar de chavila, the rope literally means the rope gets split, right? Which means that there's no longer any order. Well, if there's no kohen, there's no longer any order. Abaye Naktinon ain sham levi, kohen. And Abaye said we know that if there's no levi, then a kohen. Then the Gemara is saying 2 things. If there's no kohen, then the whole order is shot. I mean, you can give it to Yisrael, you give it to a levi. If there's no kohen, if there's no levi, then you give the second aliyah to a kohen, right? Now, what does this mean? I want to ask. It's not true. Do not give a kohen an aliyah after another kohen. Why not? Because there's going to be a begam. Meaning, if you give kohen to a kohen, and then you give the second aliyah to a kohen, they're going to say, "Why are you giving it to a kohen? Must be the first kohen was junk, or whatever. He wasn't a legit kohen." Right? Levi achar Levi lo yikra, same thing. Because both of them are going to look bad. Right? If you're going to see them call up 2 Leviim, right? Then they're going to think for sure they're not going to know who's a Levi, who's not a Levi, right? So Mamela, you can't do this. So Gemara asks, so how do you just say that when there's no kohen? When there's no Levi, you call up another kohen? Right? We just said don't call a kohen after a kohen. So the Gemara answers, we said that what you do is the stack kohen who got the first aliyah, he gets the second aliyah too, right? Which is exactly what we do, right? He gets the second aliyah. So Gemara says, "Ma'ishna Levi acha Levi diikapagam shneim." Why do you say that when there's a Levi after a Levi, they both might be considered bad? The Amri Chadigayu Lav Leviu, because people are going to say that one of them is not a Levi, right? Meaning we don't know. Meaning people are going to be chayish either the first one or the second one. That's what it means, right? Kohen after Kohen nami, amni chad minayu lav Kohenu. So Kohen after Kohen, aren't we going to say that one of them is not a Kohen, right? So, meaning the Gemara, we know that you don't do Kohen after Kohen. The Gemara is just asking technically, why by Kohen after Kohen were we not chayish that either one of them could seem to be puzzle, and by Levi after Levi, we're asking that one of them. Was that one? Both of them could be considered puzzle. Our answer point: the Muslim Babu, the High Sheni, the Kohen. That we're talking about where, really, you're right. We're talking about where we knew that the father of the second Kohen, the guy that got Levi, the Kohen that got Levi, we knew that he had Yichus. So when I asked Hachanami, the Muslim Babu, the High Sheni, the Levi. Well, so let's say that we knew that the second Levi's father was a Levi. Ella Amri, Mamzeres and Esina Nasib. But people might say that the father married a Mamzeres and Esina, who passed Lazare, and it passed his kids. Hachanami, Amri Grusha or Chalutza Nasib. We might say that a Grusha or Chalutza, he married for Achle Lazare, and he made his kids Chulit. Right? So meaning, the second guy, you might think, well, again, if the guy is a Chalal, he's no longer a Kohen. What is he? He's a Yisrael. Right? So basically, what I'm saying, maybe how do you know that maybe people are going to be chayshit good? He had yichus, or maybe the father with the yichus went and married somebody he wasn't supposed to marry, and that's why the kid. And that's why there's two aliyahs. So Gemara says, "Saif Levi Mikahavi." Nobody's gonna a cholol does not become a Levi, right? So since he doesn't become a Levi, so therefore there's gonna be no concern. Okay, that last part's a little confusing. So tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem, we'll rehash it. Okay, we'll stop over here. A little late. All right. Have yourselves a fine night. Surah Stoivis.
Thank you.
Let's see, Yaakov.
Somebody mentioned about chickens over there. Chickens are up all night long. Or roosters for sure, they're up all night long. I said to we say a bracha in the morning. And I said chickens have a brain about the size of a pea. They're really not too sharp. So I think the reason we say
How come they have? Why don't they come on? Why don't they come onto our daf?
I'll get to it. So the chickens, and I see the cockadoodle.
Goat's brain's a little bigger.
They go all night long. So but at nighttime, when it's time to go inside, they all know to go inside. So if it was that they don't
Lila then Yoim, no. Yoim then Lila, yeah.
Yeah. So if Yom Lila, they don't really have it together, but we don't say